Hey guys, Joe here. Today we're going to do an experiment with some ice making. One of my recent videos, a friend of ours, Sergey over at Sport Teleport, link his channel in the description, he asked if I could show how I make the ice balls that I sling. Now that process on itself isn't all that interesting. It's pouring water into some molds and put them in the freezer. But I thought we could show that, but also throw a little experiment in there as well. Now, I've heard different methods for making clear ice, and I've tried a couple myself with not very good results. But another one in the community, Andrew Slings or Nook or No One of Consequence, but I'll link him down in the description too. But he brought to my attention the technique of boiling water twice. So you bring the water to a boil, let it cool, bring it to a boil again, freeze that water, and it should come through clear. So I'll make a couple trays of ice balls here. We'll try out this method and we'll see what works. So I'm going to do two different lengths of time. We'll fill up one of the molds here with water that's been boiled for about 10 or 15 minutes. I figured that was just a good time range to use. And then I'll do a second one with water that's been boiled for double that amount of time. So about 20 or 25 minutes, give or take. So here's the stuff we're going to use. I've got my pot we're going to boil the water in. I have a measuring cup, measuring glass. I do use this to fill the molds up so they don't get all messy, because I can do a precise pour with it. But I also use this because I can know how much water we'll need in the pot. These are the ice molds I use. They're just silicone molds. I've used them for a long time. Don't remember where I got them, but if you search online, if you want something like this, you can probably find it. Just look for spherical silicone ice mold. And these ones are 2.5-inch diameter. You'll see this too. This is just the lid of a Tupperware container. And what I do is I put the molds on top of that, because it was just a perfect fit when I put them in the freezer. These molds, when you close them up, if it's not seated absolutely perfectly, sometimes water will leak out before it freezes and it'll drip, and that used to go all over the shelf in the freezer and sometimes down at the bottom. But when I put it on these trays, any water that does leak out just stays in the tray and it's no problem. All right, let's go. First step is going to be get some water in this pot and get it heating. Hey, while this pot's heating up, let's hit some theory real quick. To my knowledge, the idea behind why this would work by boiling the water is that really hot liquids are very poor at storing dissolved gases. I've seen this in brewing too. Like if you want to force carbonate a beer that's in a keg, if that's at room temperature, you need to beat your CO2 tank at a very high pressure to force carbonate the keg. But if you're at low temperature, like a refrigeration temperature, even normal serving pressure will carbonate the beer if you give it enough time. So the hot liquid won't be able to store the gases, plus the boiling might help with dispersing them. Don't know. Just to show this, here's what a normal ice ball looks like. Not sure how well it's going to show up. If it's terrible, I'll take a picture and put it up there. But there usually is a little bit of clear area. But jump ahead here. We'll get this water boiling, and when I do that, I'm actually going to put it in the sink and chill it down, so I'm not trying to put boiling water in my molds. But I will jump ahead to that, and we'll see the next step. Let's go. You guys, got a good boil here. Timer set for 10 minutes. So just to help this cool down a little faster than it normally would so I can put it in the molds, I'm going to fill the sink up with cold water, which just submerge this pot and just get it down to where I can handle the water without burning myself. All right, guys, I don't know if I'm in frame here, but it doesn't matter. The important stuff's right here. So I've got my measuring cup there for pouring. Here's my base, which I don't need that right this second. But here's also the pot with the water. I'm actually gonna swap these two things around. Paper towel here just so I don't get all wet. And so let me see what I can grab. There's about that 400 milliliter mark. Okay, and so a couple things I do when I fill these molds up. Obviously I put them together here, but they have, I hope this shows up. If it doesn't in the video, I'll take a picture and show you. But the molds have this little notch on them. And then that fits into a little space in the actual mold. This one's definitely probably not going to show up. But because these are kind of rubbery, sometimes that doesn't slide in very well. So what I'll normally do is just that little notch there, I'll just dip it in the water and get it wet. And then on the base, it slides right in. Just a tip if you get one that is designed like this. So we'll go through these. Okay, those are all on. So now here's another tip if you ever want to try to make ice balls for sling ammunition. Now that these tops are on, I'll go through and push down on them like this. You know, just take a spread of your fingers so you have a pretty good, you know, like an equal distribution of pressure over the top. And all I'm making sure here is that they don't move at all. If you push down on one and you can feel it rocking a little bit, that means it's not seating correctly and it's gonna leak on you. So if you feel that, it might just be one lid doesn't match up with that part of the base, so just swap it with another one. They're usually okay. But I'm just making sure that they're completely solid and there's no movement. Now that doesn't guarantee they won't leak. They still might, but that's definitely something you want to do. And so I'll gently, without trying not to disturb the tops, I'll move that onto the base like that. But just kind of reach around here and now turn this around, get the other side. And I'm pouring like this just because it's more comfortable for me to pour from the back like that. Perfect. One did spill a little bit, but probably almost certainly out of frame here. You'll see I got a bunch of ice in here already. Slide this back in. Alright guys, that was boil number 1. Get our pot back on the stove here. Get this. This, I won't bother showing it because it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to bring the water to a boil, cool it down the sink. So I will see you at the filling of the next mold. Alright guys, basically the same thing, except this water has now been boiled twice. The second time was about the same, maybe a little bit longer. Okay, one thing we got going on here, guys. I'm pretty sure it's this one. It's one of these two. We do have a drip going on right here. If it's slow enough, it might not matter. But what I'll do is rip off a little piece of paper towel, just like that, and fold this up and give it a good, kind of a crease, and I'll put it down in between those. And the idea with that is when I put this in the freezer, the damp paper towel will actually freeze really fast because it's exposed to more air and there's less water here. And what the hope is that creates a block and stops the leak. I've had that technique work before. I've had it fail before. It all depends on how fast the leak is. And this one, the level's already going down, so I know it's this middle one. But we'll stick it in the freezer and hope for the best. This one looks great in here. No leaking whatsoever. Alright guys, that's it for today. The first one looks really good. The second one, there was definitely one leak. There might have been two. I don't know. We'll see what these look like tomorrow, which for you guys will be right now. Hey guys, Joe here. It's the following morning. So let's pull these ice balls and see what they look like. Here's the first thing I do with these when I'm pulling the ice balls out. I got this big metal spoon. I use it for brewing mainly, but I'll take this and just bust those tops off the ice. So we'll see. Here's our bucket to put the ice in, and this was the ones that were boiled one time. all that build up, and it looks like they look kind of the same. Let's check another one here. Yeah, they're still basically the same. They've got a little bit of a clear area, but they're mostly cloudy. And this one is pretty hazy like that other one. Okay, so one boil didn't do anything. Hey guys, there we are, moment of truth. These are the ones that were boiled once, cooled, and then boiled a second time. And they look exactly the same, no difference whatsoever. But yeah, no noticeable difference. Like if I just pull this out, I would just think it was a same old ice balls I always use. Okay, so this almost looks like a bust. There is just one caveat, and that was when I had the pot of water for the second boil, I poured it into the measuring cup. And when you dump that in, that's going to allow gas to dissolve in the water. So I don't know if that was a factor or not. So let's jump and take a look at one more go at this. All right, guys, round 3. These ones I did basically the same method. I was just a lot more careful with it. This time there was no stirring, no chilling in the sink because that might have disrupted things somehow, and definitely no pouring from the pot. So I filled up the pot with water. I brought up to boil for about 10 to 12 minutes just like before, and then I just shut the heat off, put a paper towel over the top so nothing would fall in and disturb it, and just let it sit for somewhere between an hour to 2 hours so it cooled down a bit. Then I brought it up to a boil again, and then exact same thing. I just covered it up and let it sit till it was got down to just a warmer temperature so that I could put it in the molds. Let's see what they look like. I forgot my bucket to put these in. And these are just, if anything, this is actually, it looks more consistent because instead of having like a clear area, it's a more overall hazy. There. Said I forgot my bucket. I'll just set them on that for the moment because these will be sling ammo this weekend. Yeah, that's interesting. This same thing. It's got a real overall hazy look to it. It's like the gas that is inside it is much more evenly dispersed than the other ones. And yeah, this the other center one. So the center ones did get kind of like an area that's more clear. Okay, there's only one more test I can think of. And that is maybe it's chemicals that are in the tap water that are giving this trouble. I've got a jug that says Giant Eagle, but this isn't Giant Eagle. This is filled up. I have a spring water tap down in my basement. This is spring water. It was put through a 1 micron filter. So this shouldn't have anything in it. I'll run it with this. Let's jump to that unveiling. Hey guys, okay, this is the very last one because I am tired of boiling water just to make ice balls from it. This again, you just saw it. This is going to be the spring water, and what I did was I boiled it for a little over 10 minutes. Then I covered it up and just let it sit. I didn't let it go as long as I had with the other ones. I only left it for about an hour. Then I hit the heat, got it up to a boil again, and then I let it cool down again. No stirring, nothing. It was just covered up. And then I gently dipped the measuring cup in and filled these up. Let's see what they look like. And they're cloudy. I did remember my bucket this time. I'm not expecting anything different, but we'll check a couple more here. Let's try a center one. Yeah. All right, I'm calling this busted. Boiling water twice does not give you clear ice. Yeah, there might be more to it. I could be doing something wrong, but just simply saying boiling water twice will get the ice to be clear. One at least is incomplete, and at most is just false. So if anyone knows what I'm doing wrong or how this needs to be done, give us a shout down in the comments. But I'm done with this experiment. Cheers, guys.